What's up, everybody? How you doing tonight? It's Keefy of GhostCultMag.com with a late night live stream. I've been trying not to do too many of these, but here we are. It has been a week. My baby is here. What's up, my fiance? Happy to see you. I'm glad for once. I'm glad you're still awake. Just trying to make sure all my other networks are working. Give me one more second. I'm trying to get more expedient with these things, as my negative comments have been saying, like, get on with the review already, asshole. You try to do all this shit that I do. But we're here tonight. We're going to do a quick and dirty review of the brand new surprise album by Neurosis. We already ran our review on our site in case you didn't see it, and you should check it out. But in the meantime, I'm going to give you a deep dive on Neurosis, the band, as well as this new album, which is humongous. First of all, to get the band back at all is unbelievable. And I feel fortunate, like, what a time to be alive that we got to be here for this comeback, which honestly, I really never thought would ever, I never thought this band would reunite ever, actually, to be frank, even though my name is Keefy. So, dad jokes aside, make sure I'm not echoing anywhere. There we go. Okay. We'll see if anybody shows up on all the things. Looks like everybody is. We're doing the thing now. TikTok is here. Instagram. So yeah, we're going to talk about this brand new Neurosis album. I'm pretty pumped as a longtime fan. It was tough being a fan, honestly, for a while, just because it was just tough. You know, we'll talk about the circumstances, but let's see. I have a little, as usual, a little visual aid to help with this. Boom. How you like them apples? So, new Neurosis album, and I luckily have the review pulled up. They just announced it and dropped it on the same day, which, you know, absolutely a surprise to me too. An Undying Love for a Burning World is the name, a very fitting album for these fitting, horrendous times. And we'll talk about why they were gone for so long, why this is their first album in 10 years, and all the things, and talk about it. And you also talk about it. You might learn something. I often get asked about genres. I think I might start a series on genres, explaining the genres for new fans, because if you don't have new fans and we gatekeep everything, then, you know, what do we have? We have trash. Anyway, let's do the thing. So first things first, on the slide deck. So this is the new album. They announced it all on the same day. New album, one big festival thing. Abdallah's here, Johnny Danger's here, Taylor D is here, the B, Isaac Newton is here. What's up? What's up? Anybody that's here, you give us a follow, we'll follow you back at the end of the stream. So a new Neurosis album. If you're a big metalhead, especially from the 90s, you know who this band was. They co-founded a genre, perfected a couple of genres, were on the very first Ozfest, if that means anything to you. Acclaimed worldwide, had underground love, maybe not commercial support because they're not really a mainstream type of band, but absolutely an essential band, especially for 90s metal and 2000s metal. So first things first, a little bit of the minutiae here for the channel. I always like to do, let's see what's going on here. Yep. New interviews this week on our YouTube. If you're new here, I just interviewed Brendan Small from Death Clock. The Amon Clock Conquest Tour is coming up soon, co-headlined by Amon Amarth and Death Clock with Castle Rat. Brendan is fond of us. We've done many interviews with him over the last few years, and we always try to come with a fresh approach, and he always has something super interesting and fresh to talk about. Planet Rock and Roll is here. What's up? What's up? Also this week, our own Don DeLamont interviewed power metal legend Axel Rudy Pell. New album out now, really on Steamhammer Records. Fun interview by Don. Don is picking up more and more interviews for us as I try to delegate and do less things. Because, again, I can't do all the things. There's only so many hours in a day. Plus, I work a job. We'll drop the tip menu here if you're feeling tipsy. Basically, the 2026 tip menu is relatively the same as the 25 menu. Your questions are always going to be answered free. This is your show. Also, please participate, ask questions, drop a comment if you're interested in Neurosis. That'd be cool. If you're not, that's fine too. You might learn something about the genres. Also, you know, give us some suggestions about other things, what upcoming albums you'd like to see me review. Got a new Black Label Society album coming out this week, Corrosion Conformity next week. So many big banger albums yet to be announced. Gojira, Anthrax, a huge year potentially. Armored Saint just announced a new album. King Richard is back. What's up, King Richard? Good to see you. What's up? Jesus Chrysler Supercar is here. What's up? Always love that name. So that's our tip menu. If you're feeling tipsy, cool. If not, that's fine too. There's our QR code if you're feeling generous. And thanks for everybody that's watching. We got somebody watching on Facebook. JP Bedell, what up? And we got some folks watching on all the other channels, and I am appreciative. All right. So Neurosis, man, let's talk turkey. Yoda's here. What's up, Yochira, my homie? Talking about the new surprise Neurosis album with a quick review here. We already have a review on our website. One of the first anybody to have a review of it, because shout out to Wilsifer from Ghost Cult. He immediately just bucked up with a review, just absorbed the album, listened to it a bunch of times, and did the thing. So, what happened with the band? Neurosis has been around, 35 years, 40 years, almost 41 years. Janet Galaxy, what's up? No Fear Paranor is here. What's up, brother? So, Neurosis has been around since the 80s. I don't think I really became aware of them until community college, Keefy. Souls at Zero, which we'll talk about in a second. They started out as a hardcore punk band. They came from the same scene as Asbestos Death, which became Sleep, which became High on Fire. A lot of funny coincidences. They were basically a true hardcore punk band, like really brutal and heavy. Then they kind of went even more extreme and into like grindcore, early grindcore, and then kind of just slowed it down and went the opposite. They went as fast as they could and as angry as they could, and then they were still angry and angsty, but brutally heavy, but also capable of gentle moments of beauty. And really, we're going to get into what is post-metal briefly. And then they had a tremendous run, which we'll talk about in a second. Morgan Evans, what up, what up? Ghost Cultist in the house, what up? On TikTok, just talking about that new Neurosis album. And Kerrigan is also here. Willow Child of is here. So, really put out a record in 2016, and Fires Upon Fires, Fires from Fires. And we were hearing rumblings that the band were like something was going on with them. They were dropping off of tours and shows. And then, we covered them in late 19. Hillary Jason reviewed them. I was just looking at this review just to kind of go back and look at the set list. Neurosis, Bell Witch, and Deaf Kids live at the Paradise Rock Club, of which I've seen many, many things. They had toured that summer with Godflesh, now retired from touring, Yob, and just a short run of dates. And Fires Within Fires was their last album before this. And then they kind of went on indefinite hiatus. And then just a few years ago, after the pandemic, we found out why. We found out that Scott Kelly, who was the co-founder of the band, along with two other members, had a long history of, mental problems. He made kind of a public apology. He treated his family, he horribly abused his family, and was stepping back from the band. And then the band kind of disbanded on a hiatus. So it seemed broken up. Seemed like a breakup. Didn't seem very positive that they would ever come back. So we didn't think anything of it. People stopped wearing their Neurosis merch and didn't talk about the band that much anymore. But they were one of the leading bands of underground metal for decades. And then out of nowhere, the other bands had done separate projects. I know Dave Edmonds has his own music going on here in the East Bay. Still the resident here. Steve Von Till moved out to the wilderness and has been putting out these incredible Harvest Man folk metal and folk and sort of contemplative avant-garde records and things and tone poems and stuff. And I just figured, oh, the band is not ever coming back. And people even considered maybe like Jason Roeder would go back to Sleep if Sleep ever came back. But then suddenly on March the 20th, boom, Neurosis back, joined by the incredible Aaron Turner, best known for Sumac and ISIS the band and Old Man Gloom and Hydra Head Records and his current label Siege Records, of which I bought some stuff from not too long ago that I showed on my weekly live stream. And he is the perfect fit for them. And then they had just surprise dropped a brand new album to digital, streaming everywhere right now. Such a visual and visually conscious band. I'm sure they're going to have many videos for this album and many visual things. And then, put the record out, and there's pre-orders on sale now. We'll talk about later, a bunch of vinyl and things like that, cassettes and all the things. But just everybody was pumped. The whole internet was talking about this underground band coming back. And really, Aaron is the perfect dude to be in the band. So, moving on. And again, just kind of, I'm going to embiggen this screen for a second. Sorry, TikTok. We'll get to you at some point. Steve Mendoza is also here. What's up, Steve? So, I mean, in terms of a run of albums, right? The first couple of albums of Neurosis, again, hardcore, punk, and grindcore, but really 1990 Souls at Zero is one of the very first albums you could call post-metal. So what is post-metal, really quick? Post-metal is an amalgam of sludge and doom and, also atmospheric elements. Post-rock, by comparison, is a lot lighter and has a lot of acoustic drone passages and kind of drone guitar. And you saw post-rock kind of influence other bands like Deftones and A Perfect Circle and Billy Howardell's other solo music and Ashes Divide and things like that. But post-metal is its meaner, brutaler, nastier older brother. So Souls at Zero was the first attempt at this. And then obviously Enemy of the Sun, Through Silver and Blood, Times of Grace. These are unbelievable genre-defining albums. I would say they would all be 10s, those three. And then, of course, they have a bunch of other records there. Collab with Jarboe kind of pushed them. I think Solstafir is a post-metal band, but also they do more like a post-rock because they're not quite as brutal. Yoshiro, I love Solstafir. I really want to learn Icelandic so I can rock with Solstafir and understand what they're singing about. They only have 2 songs in English. JY, what's up? Thank you for being here on TikTok. I appreciate you, man. But yeah, I would say Solstafir has some elements of post-metal and also sometimes bordering on death metal, doom metal, and black metal slightly. Will by Design is here. What's up? So, and of course, there have been a bunch of other really fantastical albums by Neurosis. Pretty much they're all great, but there are some that just kind of stand above everything. A Sun That Never Sets is another one here that I really love, beside the Jarboe one. And yeah, this is their first record in 10 years, and it's awesome. But so they're really an important band in the history of metal. They really, truly are. So here's Neurosis by the numbers. I love doing these now. I'll continue to do them for all these reviews. Founded in 1985, went from hardcore to grindcore to post-metal, and they've pretty much stayed folk metal. When they did the Jarboe, they've always had kind of a folk influence because of Steve Von Till and ex-members, but when they really collabed with Jarboe on that full-length album, they really explored their folk Jones fully, where they're a whole launched a whole. You could almost say that Neurosis is partially responsible for the sort of folk black metal, partially inspires a lot of the folk black metal bands, although they did that themselves also, like Ulver, my favorite black metal band beside Emperor. Started on the same, I spelled it wrong, started on the same label as Green Day and Rancid. Lookout Records put out the first 2 Neurosis records, which is absolutely crazy. Neurosis in their career has 13 albums, 4 EPs, 2 splits, and 5 live albums. And there's also their side band. It's not really a side band. It's their sort of companion band, Tribes of Neurot. And what Tribes of Neurot mostly does, in addition to original music, they started doing this thing where they would make an album of music. and then they would make another album with Tribes of Neurot to layer on top of the album. So people were like playing. Yeah. Will by Design. I'm talking about Neurosis and their new album. We're doing a deep dive on Neurosis' career as well as this new record. Thank you so much. I did say Times of Grace. So fucking good, dude. So fucking good. Yeah, they're back, man. They're back with a brand new album. And Aaron Turner of Isis and Old Man Gloom is their new vocalist, replacing Scott Kelly, the vocals and guitar. So Tribes of Neurot, man, has 19 albums and like 5 or 6, 7 EPs. So they have 26 releases with the companion band. And a lot of these records, like 7 or 8 of them, of those 13, have a companion album. You can listen to them separately, and you can listen to them. People were putting on like a CD and a cassette at the same time, starting them at the same time, like The Wall and The Wizard of Oz, or Dark Side of the Moon and The Wizard of Oz. And like, it makes a whole other experience that deepens the band. These are genius level people, is what I'm trying to say. Too bad I spelled Green Day wrong, but okay. So the personnel of the band, of course, returning is Steve Von Till and Jason Roeder, two of the no, Steve wasn't a co-founder, but he came in early. Roeder and Edwardson, Dave Edwardson, are the longtime co-founders. Roeder also was in Sleep, incredible drummer, just a master, so heavy, so cool, a lot of tribal influences. Edwardson on bass and vocals, but he also plays keys, synths, and things. Noah Landis on synthesizers, samples, and backing vocals, and sometimes some lead vocals. And he also is a visual artist. The band has always had a tremendous visual component. They used to have Josh Graham in the band as a full-time member, just making visuals while the band made music, which is incredible. Judge and Jury Records is here. What's up? I'd love to get an interview with y'all. That's my first Liquid Death this week. So yeah, the band is basically the 4 longtime members and Aaron Turner. So killer. So there's the artwork, which Aaron also did the artwork, the layout, the graphics, and the different vinyl variants and things like that. He did all of the layout for the cassette, all the things. The guy is a tour de force, as he's been a legendary artist on his own for other bands as well as his own. So let's talk about the full track by track of the album. I have my notes here. The album starts with We Are Torn Wide Open, which is just kind of like an opening salvo, like a hype track with a lot of screamed, kind of sentiments and things. And, pretty radical. Loud Nathan is here. Killer. So yeah, just a kind of an opener to get like a open the can, right? Then the first real full track is Mirror Deep, and it's heavy. It's so heavy to start off. It's just brutal and harsh and ugly in the best possible way. I'm always reminded of our late writer at Ghost Cult, Paul Quinn, who passed away a few years ago because of cancer. And he used to say, like, he considered the bands that were in post-metal and sludge and doom horrible, but like great horrible in a great way. Like, oh, these bands sound horrible, but he meant great. And so Mirror Deep is a horrible sounding song in the best way. It's so gnarly and such a great opener for this record, such a great opening salvo. The second track is First Red Rays, absolutely classic era Neurosis, phenomenal riffs, brutal vocals, an absolute riff fest, and then like 65% of the way through the track, is pretty long at 8:27. It kind of turns into this like 4-part haunting vocal melody that I believe is the other members of the band singing, Dave and Noah, and maybe Steve, all backing up. But really an incredible song. It'd be cool to get like a cool music video for this song, I think. Let's see what else. Just make sure I'm not missing anybody here in the chat. No, thank you. So the next track is Blind, which is again 9 minutes long. Starts with like a whirring sample that would remind you of Godflesh or Killing Joke. Easily contemporaries and influences at the same time of both bands, all of them influencing each other. Absolutely slamming riffs. Really great composition. There's layers. The keyboard work is very subtle on this track. Thunderous bass, great drumming. Just a quintessential track for the record. Certainly, maybe the best track on the record, but honestly, they're all pretty banger. Seething and Scattered is next. This is probably my favorite song on the entire record. It's got a real groove to it, like a swing, which is something I don't think we've heard the band kind of try to do before, which I really like. Tremendous drumming and again, just like very intricate guitars. And then it gets very weird and Pink Floyd-y about halfway through. That will remind you of Kylesa, or even like, you know, you can see where like Blood Incantation saw what Neurosis did in their 90s records and is trying to like kind of shine on that a little bit by trying to bring in different things. And again, there's a lot of this tribal drumming that I mentioned Rotor is really great at. And kind of will remind you of also the double drums versions of Melvin's, who also not quite post-metal, but very sludgy and doomy sometimes, right? Cool. So the next track is Untethered. Great name. Tremendous opening buildup, like it keeps vamping and vamping and vamping and growing until it's just gnarly, dirty bass and droning riffs and just oppressive. That's like I was in the desert last weekend for a stoner rock, psychedelic rock festival, and the heat was the only word I could use to describe it is oppressive. We were baking, and this song is going to bake your brain noodle. I promise you. Also, the next track is In the Waiting Hours. We're getting right through this, huh? Really killer song, very atmospheric, and a little moody, to be honest, but also has heavy parts, just a lot of ebbs and flows and dynamic shifts left and right, honestly. Just really fun and, just an absolute banger of another very long track. And then, really quickly, despite these long tracks, none of them feel like too long. They feel very satisfying. And I've listened to this record myself now 3-4 times. Only once over the weekend because I was away, but 3 times, twice today. And I'm really, just it really holds up on repeat listens. There are records that I hear and I'm like, nope, not going to listen to that again. Not this one. This is a pure banger. And then the last track is Last Light, which is like 17 minutes long almost. And it very much feels like a continuation of that opening. Like that opening track could have been part of Last Light, and then they just kind of split Last Light. They peeled that piece off to make it like an ellipsis. And it's just epic. Just a huge track. Again, sprawling just like the last few, except Untethered, which is a shorty. And I really wanted like just absolute howling vocals. There's so much brutal vocal work on here by Aaron. You really don't miss Scott. I know people have said like at some point I feel like I'm hearing Scott because he's so brutal in the same way that Scott would be. But Steve also screams. Dave used to scream a lot. And, Neurosis was never one guy. It was always, a collective. And I think that's the important thing to remember here. I know a lot of people are like, I think there were a few holdouts that were like, no Scott, no Neurosis. But, yes, he co-founded the band, but, he wasn't, again, it was really a group effort all the time. And, I just want to, point out as we talk a little bit about this last track, the song kind of ends very Pink Floyd, very Dark Side of the Moon, very The Wall, where a metronome is ticking out time. And it's like the escaping sands of an hourglass. It's like this album and this song are so apocalyptic feeling. Like it's a match for these times, man. It is a match for 2026's vibe. And, I just want to bring this in here and sum it up with a quote from Will Cifer's review, which he wrote. This is, I gotta say, pretty damn brilliant of him. Will's been knocking it out all year with the reviews. And he wrote, this album has thankfully opened a new chapter for the band that holds up well against their legacy, even in the absence of Kelly. This is an impressive feat, but one that will give fans an album they never dreamed they would get again. Yet here we are, playing loudly as the flames begin to lap up the oceans and the sky bleeds itself dry before the world ends. Poetry, my friends. He gave this album a 10 of 10, and I have to agree, this is the first album in 2026 that I would give a 10 to, and this will surely be in the conversation for the albums of the year for me, for heavy music. I am so pumped. And they, talk about some future activities for them. We know that they have quite a multitude of vinyl variants that are selling at Neurot Recordings, which, by the way, there's all kinds of now if you feel good again, like a band kicked out a bad member and you can wear your shirts again, they have a whole plethora of classic merch alongside the brand new merch. So I think that's really awesome if you want to go support the band and get some of their older material and older merch if you want to dive in. But they have obviously a tremendous amount of options for this new record. Also, the band will be appearing at their first show back, which is Fire in the Mountains, which is already just an unbelievable lineup. We had some people out there last year for the first few. 16 Horsepower, I'm not a huge fan of. Neurosis announced as the co-headliner by invitation. Also with Enslaved, Baroness, Amigo the Devil, Agalok, Yob, Ruins of Beverast, Rare American Show, Sabrosa, Reunion, Full of Hell, Old Man Gloom, Aaron's band, Raven Chacon and Igor Cavalera on their solo thing, Dreadnought, Midwife, Yautil Mitaclon, Savage Oath, and many more. This is unbelievable, and I believe the demand for the band will be very high and probably have already been booked for things next year and into later this year, perhaps headline tours. Obviously, European festivals, especially the heavier metal ones, would love to have Neurosis on their bill. So, yeah, absolutely killer. Great to have them back. This record is a masterpiece. I am super stoked for it. Let me know if you're watching this now, or if you're watching, think about records that are coming out that you're excited about, that you want to see me review and give this treatment to. Message us, DM us, follow us, subscribe, all the things, and let us know how you feel. Drop a comment. If you didn't like this review and you don't agree, also drop a comment and tell me why. Don't just be like, you suck. Tell me why. Drop a comment. Show how smart you are. Show what a great music and metal fan you are. Hey, Michaelicious, what's up? Welcome back. And yeah, that's this record. I'm really stoked, and I'm just glad they're back. And that is our show. I'll be back tomorrow. It's still Thursday night here in California, but I'll be back at 5:00 Pacific for Ghost Cult's weekly live stream, our rock and metal news show, The Weekly Ritual. So join me then. Subscribe to get notified when we go live next. Thanks for everybody for watching, our real ones. Love my life in the comments, everything. Yochiro, what's up, brother? Enslaved, they have anything new? I think they're going to announce a new record soon. I'm a huge Enslaved fan. I've interviewed the band multiple times, as well as for their side projects. And one of my favorites. I've managed to see Enslaved in multiple countries even. So yeah, let me break out of here for now. Thanks for being here and watching. I greatly appreciate you. I will see you soon on the next one. Peace.